You know, there's something incredibly exciting about traveling. The thrill of exploring new places, tasting exotic foods, and immersing yourself in different cultures can be truly life-changing. But let me tell you, there's a dark side to travel that can turn your dream vacation into a nightmare faster than you can say, lost luggage. And that dark side? It starts with skipping local culture research. Yes, you heard me right. If you think you can just hop on a plane and figure it out as you go, you might be setting yourself up for some shocking mistakes that could leave you completely speechless, and not in a good way. Let's dive into this. Imagine you've just arrived in a beautiful foreign city. The sun is shining, the streets are bustling, and the aroma of street food wafts through the air. You're ready to dive in, but wait, did you even bother to look up any local customs? This is where the trouble begins. For instance, in some cultures, tipping is not just appreciated, it's expected. In others, it could be seen as an insult. Picture this. You're in Japan, enjoying a lovely meal, and you leave a tip on the table, thinking you're being generous. But instead, you've just offended your host. Now, you're left red-faced, fumbling for an apology in a language you barely speak. All because you skipped a little research. Then there's the issue of dress codes. Some places have very specific expectations when it comes to attire. Take a trip to a country where modesty is paramount, and you've decided to wear your favorite tank top and shorts. You might as well be walking around with a neon sign that says, "I didn't bother to check the culture." You'll find yourself receiving disapproving looks from locals, and suddenly you're not just a tourist. You're a walking stereotype of the oblivious traveler. And trust me, no one wants to be that person. And let's not even get started on food. Oh, the food! One of the greatest joys of traveling is indulging in local cuisine. But if you haven't done your homework, you might end up in a culinary minefield. Ever heard of fugu? It's a delicacy in Japan, but it can also be deadly if not prepared correctly. If you're not aware of what you're ordering, you could find yourself in a life-or-death situation, all because you skipped the research. Or maybe you're in Thailand, and you think you're being adventurous by trying street food. But did you check if the stall has proper hygiene? You could end up with food poisoning that ruins your entire trip. And then there are the language barriers. Sure, you might have learned a few basic phrases, but did you take the time to understand the nuances? In some cultures, saying no directly can be considered rude. Instead, they might use vague expressions to decline an offer. If you're not aware of this, you might find yourself in a confusing situation, wondering why your polite thank you was met with a puzzled look. Communication is key, and without understanding the local language and customs, you might as well be trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Now, let's talk about transportation. You might think that hopping on a bus or a train is the same everywhere, right? Wrong. In some countries, public transportation can be a labyrinthine nightmare. If you haven't done your research on how to navigate the local system, you could end up lost in a city where no one speaks your language. Imagine missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime experience because you couldn't figure out how to get there. You'd be left standing on a street corner, staring at your map, feeling utterly defeated. And speaking of getting lost, let's not forget about the importance of understanding local laws and regulations. You might think you're just having a little fun, but in some places, what you consider harmless could land you in serious trouble. Take, for example, the strict laws around public behavior in certain countries. A little public display of affection might seem innocent to you, but in some cultures, it could be a criminal offense. You could find yourself in a police station, trying to explain your way out of a situation that could have easily been avoided with a bit of research. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the social norms. In some cultures, it's customary to greet someone with a kiss on the cheek, while in others, a firm handshake is the norm. If you don't know these things, you could end up making someone uncomfortable, or worse, offending them. Imagine trying to make a good first impression on a local, only to completely misread the situation. It's awkward, it's embarrassing, and it's entirely avoidable with just a little bit of preparation. And let's not forget about the impact of cultural appropriation. It's a hot topic these days, and rightly so. Wearing traditional clothing or adopting cultural practices without understanding their significance can be incredibly disrespectful. You might think you're honoring a culture, but if you haven't taken the time to understand its history and meaning, you could be perpetuating stereotypes and offending those who hold that culture dear. So, what's the takeaway here? If you want to travel and truly experience the richness of a new culture, do your homework. Research local customs, understand the language, and familiarize yourself with the do's and don'ts. It's not just about avoiding embarrassing situations. It's about showing respect for the places you visit and the people who call them home. Traveling is a beautiful journey, and it's one that can be enriched by understanding and embracing local culture. So, before you pack your bags and head off on your next adventure, take a moment to immerse yourself in the culture you're about to explore. You'll not only avoid those shocking mistakes, but you'll also create memories that will last a lifetime. Trust me, your future self will thank you for it.